Today I'm in Berkeley. It's a caregiver job. Anyway. Dico che dopo la telefonata di Sayuri, coreani, about 10 months ago, they were saying that I should have already left. 51 years old, I should have left long ago. E poi c'era un'altra telefonata from New Hampshire, perché these are people who knew me since I was a child. So, se stiamo a parlare di timing, 11 years out of Fresno. So they say, come back. Allora, in agosto mi sembra la data giusta a Roma. I didn't even give a shit about the psycho stalkers, because that's America. And I realized as somebody who had The Hague happen to them and come back as Disneyland, as a particular Hong Kong, is America. And the pretense is that you didn't remember what happened on those slides is typical. In other words, I didn't have pretenses when I was a child. You can have many scientists. Head of sciences in Warsaw, who is 96, is the brother of the mother. He said Polish intelligence represents pink. And so does Ulietanovo and mass media, because Poland is pink. And Russia, which was the original Greys and Blacks of the Galdemir of scientists, is dead on the coastlines. Together with the pink, because you can't even whittle the fucking shit of the pink. That's how cheap you are as scientists. But then you blame the corporations. Quite frankly, the girl didn't do cancer. She did Greys and Blacks of the Russians. Same with Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Egypt was the cousin of the father. Is that Egypt is pink and Saudi Arabia is Greys and Blacks. So when you deny to the UN in Rome, or you deny in German airspace, or you deny in Woolwich, it's not a question of inner circles. You like names. You like putting emblems on yourself. You like being bitches to me. You like saying, well, I'm Jewish, so I hate your ass, which is extremely ugly to somebody who come back from the dead with a piece of paper like Disneyland. That's very ugly. Oh, sorry. You cried for your dark mission, but you didn't cry for that on the coastlines. I realize it's all news on the news. I realize that I don't have pretenses. I'm not that girl. That those guys made genetics. They made genetics out of that girl. Probably not when she was having her head smashed on the coastlines, Jamila, the original. But the genetics come from Egyptian, Saudi, Polish, Russian. The reason the Germans were speaking about the white hairs is because Germans specialize in airspace. And the emir was Russian Saudi. For the German intel, that girl was someone. So when they rehashed her, and the US obviously denied even her existence, with all the paperwork that any cat could possibly have as a particular corn code, a bit too much, you know. They drew the line on that, and they said, by now, because you're coming from China, napping on your soil, you had the intel before on the flies in the runnings when she was on the coastline. The parents are in retirement in Fresno. The fuck is any science in Fresno, the intelligence? And then they put this one in between, and goodbye. And connect the dots with West Clubhouse and all that. Well, it's pointless. So, I grew up knowing that there was void without that girl. But I couldn't change it because I wasn't that girl. I wasn't exactly that girl. I wasn't even blues, if that even is possible after I smashed the net on the coastline. They want to know how they did the blues. I tried to explain it, but if you send me psychos, it's not going to help. I didn't even call them psychos. I just called them criminals. The coastlines had to do with an attack on science. For instance, when you say that, you cry. You literally cry for Dark Mission. You'll be sitting there and showing me that you're the wife of some ex-Dark Missioner who had his head smashed in and tried to be a lady of the house. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm Disneyland. Don't speak to me. I'm taking the place of that girl. And that's very bad already in itself. Connected those two wives to go back in this format. They are supposed to be Gone with the Wind on news on the news. That's what I'm saying. The pretenses are yours. I don't give a shit if you have a PhD. Mufot from Russian Saudi Arabian mayor. So when the Germans started putting up names at ESA, obituary for Jamila. Literally, they have websites. All these German space scientists, obituary for Jamila. That's me. What they saying? That I'm already dead. In essence. So what is this? What is this 2-to-1 ballerina? What is this standing, this tripod? What is this piece of paper? What's all this fucking piece of paper up your ass? You speak to me about intelligence. Del, I'm better than you. I'm thinking I have a PhD. I got a limousine. I got 250 boyfriends. I got 250. It's like you're telling the wrong person. Like completely the wrong person. Like, like you're pushing it. That you push it so much that you can support that even made film, radio, Globo, Scotland, just to stay wrong for a time. Because quite frankly, I'll tell you this. If you have a father and a mother like mine, look, now it's the patience. No, it's the third patience as well. Papa was born and Mama in pioneer camps. The capital city, people dream, I'm gonna pay $1 million to send my parents or the parents to buy a car or little babies. Come back to capital cities when they're young kids, It's darkness, it's beautiful. It's no cash. You understand? It's no cash that buys you that. You understand that? I want this, I want that. I want to be the best. If you want to be the best, be the best. Don't fucking kill the best on the coastlines and science and tech. Bring it back as Disneyland. Speak about, I have no qualms about this. I don't exist. I'm not that girl. People thought I was that girl, but I'm not. I'll tell you this. The girl was good in science. She was exceptional. She was born in Rome, unlike the Varans and the mining camps beyond the capital cities. She had a lot of sponsors in the UN. She knew a lot of scientists around her when she was alive on the flyings. Beyond the mountain. The runnings on the hills that many times. She still had something going. But when she died, that way, Higgs style, on the both sides with a smashed in head, she came back like this. What are you complaining about, asshole? Alright, you have pretenses, man. You want to say anything to Mickey with Disneyland. They were not fucking kidding. To me, I'm fucking terrorist. And so what they say? Baba Faculo just sat wrong for a time. Why? Because they know who the fuck Fresno is from the beginning to the end for the past over time. Not to mention their jobs. They are D2s, D1s. So when you see somebody in helicopters dropping aid all over Africa, South America, Asia, they were in Iraq twice or 3 times, motherfucker. Shut up for 2. Just made the rounds of the world in every fucking consulate. On my police, look at glory. Even before retirement, be shit. So in other words, they know what a bunch of assholes you are in Fresno. They know it. Why? Let's put it this way. First of all, who gained on the coastline? Nobody. Not with the Hague. They blamed the Mossad, and in part, the Mossad was responsible. That's still elected. Because if you know it, and seeing it, it wasn't a financial bag. It was science. The number was particular. As for religions, because they started speaking about 2-to-1, Delft, the lowlands and stuff like that, I didn't really care for the number. I just cared for the intel, the face, what was lost. In other words, the paperwork for what had happened on the both sides and what had happened with the intel, and if there was anything there, which there is. It could be genetics, could be anything. Then people wanted to know how, if you smash somebody's head on the both sides, you make blues. And the blues would have been the Uber match. Why? They called them eggs. Now, when you understand that if you smash somebody's head on the both sides, it means the original intel, together with the scientists, is dead. If somebody out there makes blues or eggs, It's obviously not born from the mother or the father. It's born from the intel. The intel she had been flyings or runnings with, or the intel of the professors, or any agencies, or any corporations. So when you have that kind, as Dirk Jan Van Dam would say, pace and kind, of that shit on the coastlines, but if you keep doing that many flyings, and then you keep doing that many runnings that many motherfucking times, eventually something's gonna crack on the coastlines. Eventually something's just gonna crack on the coastlines, gangs. And they showed it. And they kept showing. I said to the CIA many times, I wasn't a killer. Jamila wasn't a killer. In a sense that she could easily have been a killer because intel. But she was doing a certain kind of science. Barons are directorates of humanitarian relief services. OSRO, UNCR, ACRS, United Nations, D1s. They're directorates. There's D21. They're directorates. You don't have to be jealous, envious of everything. Now, if you look at Fresno, because everybody's envious, everybody's retarded. They are. They're like animals. If I say to a 5-year-old, you're wrong, and the child turns around and says, I kill you, baby. That's retarded. I realize you don't like hearing the same thing over and over again, but for your meal. By now, even the deaf and blind and mook can see this shit. And nobody sitting there and speaking to me, oh, well, you're not capable of anything. I bet. And we start comparing her original self to herself now. And then we speak about there's Pink out there, pin-up girl, and then there's Blues, and there's Jeanette, and then there's Uncle Parents. The gossip that's going around this shit in London, in Rome, the United Nations, in World Internationals, in Russia and Federation Arabia, has it's way past. It's like it's worse than gossip. Okay. And the East Coast. The only thing is they don't like this thing about the East Coast because if you're going like a vote between the East Coast, what's that? It's like on a Greyhound. It's like a beaten egg. Okay, you beat up an egg, pink ass, and then they're still speaking about pterodactyl laying eggs in New York, all over New York State. I'm 51 years old. You're putting me through all that shit that many motherfucking times for that many motherfucking years, before retirement, during retirement, after retirement. On that many motherfucking crawlies and little crawlies is from Atlas Disneyland. And that's not even mentioning the flyings and the runnings. And then you speak to me, oh, look, we lost something on the coastlines and they're still fucking denying it. Cheap ass army shit. Boy, ain't want no fucking cheap ass army shit on the coastlines. The Holy Grail. I said, no, that's not the Holy Grail. For who? The Germans? The Brits? The Italians, the Polish, the Russians, the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Turks, Chinese. Yeah, for them. And for you? And for me? Between us, CIA, huh? And my sorry ass on the coastlines coming out as Disneyland. And your sorry ass. What was that? The Holy Grail for who? US. Someone corporate Google. That's for Texas and your fucking airspace over there, Elon Musk. That's what it is. Even the Chinese over there. North Richland Hills. Aggie Bunch. It was a Taiwanese lady. Then, when I was alone, there was the Chinese, obviously. Aggie Bunch. That's it, man. Just think about cancer. But no, darling, cancer's easy. That guy's dying of cancer. Can you do something about it? But no, I think the girl wasn't doing cancer. She was doing raising black families. Yes. Eyes and crab. It's cancer. Technology. We're from Russia to China. I mean, everyone's thinking that what is this, a golden child? A what? A sure no what's that? That's a golden child. For who? The Chinese. US. Let's just say enroll for a time. By now. And when I say the word by now, it's a magic trick. By now. Use your brains and not your assholes. What's this about your heart? Like, hey, Joe, Red Joe. Red Joe now, I'm married on the coastlines. By now. Because on the flies, I'm on the coastlines. The parents are friends. On the running, that many motherfucking time. That's it. Parents are friends, and something happens at the end of that many motherfucking running, so the coastline. I mean, is that fine? The Disneyland Casino, shit around the capital city. You can be sitting there, right? I was like, I have seen the devil and I have come back as Disneyland. You don't scare me. And I'm not going to say literally. I'm going to have to say literally. And so when you went hablando de esa radio, that was invented about 200 years ago, after the Smashing Head on the Coastline, spelled big and all the rest. The nails, the pink and blues is old news on the news. Now, there are people saying that's not fucking possible, and then they're going, not the fuck up. And she was female, she wasn't even male. I'm Russian and Saudi. Some talking me. Saudi call me church, yeah. You ain't gonna reopen my show, no listen. That's all the zombie news. And I'm gonna stick in the operations. In fact, I'm gonna say, if something happens to that girl after so many flying and running, that ship's leaving with her. To the scientists. If there's any corporations. But wasn't that old news on the news, US? Meaning, you knew that wasn't gonna change worldwide to global. That's old news on the news, one with one. Scotland from Radio Globo. I ain't no genius anymore. But they don't think that was called a genius. That's another word. How are those referrals? Actually, the Mossad on the coastline. I don't think either side of the coastlines for that matter. I don't think the Mossad was ever. You have to start looking at what's important to the US and science and corporations. You have to start looking at what you're losing on your own soil and not some small dark missioner on the coastlines. And you have to start admitting it. Because the CIA admitted it. But your people out there are more than blind. And even if this is old news gone with the wind, don't send me cycles. We will have the Dr. Parrots for this. Many more than you think for free. Because it means that all your fucking PhDs couldn't do that. That's certain kind of intel. And if they manage to make negatives out of such a girl, it means that the size was very big. And that's why they called it big. And the eyes are very, 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 very big. They're large. And so when you look at intelligence that changes the world, when it dies or when it lives, you have to start seeing what it is, what was lost on the coastlines. And we don't want the barons here anymore. And we don't want me here anymore. And the CIA has to understand the films and radio, you are not going to change what you lost on the coastlines by bringing me back to Disneyland. You're just going to show the rest of the world how much you hate. And because you don't have those scientists anymore in your midst, including me, the mermaid that you denied. Another thing, I'm female. Sorry, that's the ID. It's my ID. I keep it here because, I'm in the US and I just don't want to get ripped off again. And, literally, and oh my goodness. In other words, they made a comedy out of tragedy. And they stuck in Disneyland between it. Around the world, they made a big fuss about it. They did. It was the US that didn't, but I expected that from the people in the US. Not so much. Some of it has to do with arrogance, and some of it has to do with the fact that you already know that these things happen in your country. And you're used to it. But maybe you got pissed off that it was bigger than usual, what you lost. But the thing is, you could have prevented that, and you could have prevented all this hype. And in my opinion, had you gone to Fresno for the parents on retirements, that intelligence of Fresno, most likely that show on the coastlines would be open, because if you do that many flyings and that many runnings, mountains and hills, beyond the library and behind and above the library, if you do it that many motherfucking times, you know what actually happens with intelligence. You know that eventually something's going to crack on the coastlines. You know it. On your soil. Fresno's a terrorist. The scientists on the coastlines with the Mossad are even bigger terrorists, because they use that against you. to empty your country, just like they did the financial banks. The only difference is that on the coastlines, it's not a financial bank, it's the scientists, the sciences, and the corporations that were with the group. That's what you hated on the coastlines is now empty. That's why they called it the proverbial void in the UN and Rome and the international schools, in London and other places. But that you came to the point that you have to bring back a Disney replicant with 221, okay, a particular one called, as a baby Disney, in between, like a radio between the father, mother, on her cruise, and that's not even mentioning having to hang out with those guys who were about just from a hat and still speak about intelligence. It's like, you know when they say they draw the line, and this one hasn't. No. And oh, another one. I got a PhD. Look at my teeth. You ass. Yeah, at one stage, you got come in and you come out. Come on, forced. Forced? No, do it. And so you see, this is what they're speaking about. Sì, ho capito, figlio mio, but if you do it that many motherfuckers, scusa, man. I'm sure. All right. So this is the roof. Sorry. Some of that, what those things are. There. Okay. So that's a roof. Yeah, a roof has hills. That hill is not flat. It's not flat. You see, the hill is not flat. It's a hill. Is it? It's a hill. Yes. And there's mountains beyond that. I'm trying to understand. It's nowhere near the library. Yeah, mountains beyond. You have to understand. You have, yes. And then trying to understand that after the smashing head on the rooftop that was on the coastlines, that they made genetics. We've heard that before in Russia. We've even heard that in Saudi Arabia and in Germany about pink and blues over after a smashed net. Wait a minute, that's a lady. Wait a minute, who did it? Okay, what did you lose on the coastlines? Who was with her? That's the old news on the news, wasn't it? The ancestors. And that's a trade pool in the house. Oh, you want to have the Chinese? Oh, yes, of course. Why not stick in the Asians? They could have that shit. Ghost children. Don't have to go into the science. Just like that. Just it. It's not even mentioning the parents. Do you think they got at least the basics? But how am I going to still have to do this again on my grocery road? Damn it. As the trained pool in the house. So it wasn't the scientists on the coastlines. The amount of flies around it. Mountains and hills. I don't want to be rude, guys, but no. There is opportunists and there's chances. We stick, of course, to chances. Opportunities are as open as a warm embrace overnight, which I also found to be in pink mode, Disneyland, outrageous. Yeah. Well, there's a lot behind it. There's much more than you think. Much more than you think. In any case, what I was trying to say here is why don't we just be practical about it? No, grazie. Was a good headache machine from the 50s and 60s, a classical machine. Or some machine, it was an old machine. An easy machine. No novelty machine. It's just a light headache. Some Havana 6969, yes. I'm going to have a methodology, that sort of stuff. Because the East Coast, you don't want to know. But shit, tough money more than that. And as for the coastline, now that is the proverbial shit. Okay, but now because this is Disneyland, so don't even bother. So try and bear with me when I'm trying to show to you that I'm not exactly the biggest patsy bitch that you think I am, but I am trying very hard to be one. In fact, they even tried to make a prostitute out of me, and that didn't work either. If anyone look at me. I just looked at me and said, no. I would have been so. Another job that I cannot perform correctly or probably such as prostitution. Actually, at least prostitutes get paid, you see. And then there is the others, like whores, a level of bitches, Iraqi bitches, and all of that. They do it for free, you see, like in Fresno. All over Rome, all over London, all over Warsaw International. That many motherfucking times in my college and boys, and that's not even mentioning our homelands, the Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, and Cairo also, yeah. Cairo, I've been to Cairo. Over there, it's even worse because in those countries, I don't know if you've ever been to Arab worlds, any of the Arab worlds, they have a tendency that when they start yep, like in Russia, yep. Like for instance, when I went to the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods, there were people who were looking at me and they're like, "Oh, she's dead. Oh, and after 3 weeks or so, they start seeing these blue. You're so fucking cheap ass that after you smash that girl's head on the ghost lines with those guys that ship to yachts and the whole shit and pin-up girl, in the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods, they have the blues. So that gets not James Bond. Shabu. That's after having your head smashed on the ghost lines, which technically means what it means. It means you had the intelligence on the flyings and you had the intelligence on the runnings, and then eventually you smashed your head on the ghost lines. You could see it coming from China. It's gone with the wind, and any scientists who were with her left. The dark mission is a cheap ass. And then when you brought back Pink, and you put her up as a radio of Delft with the whole land warm to warm, you had pretenses with your PhDs. In other words, you replaced the original girl with a crab that obviously shed and became crabby with the resistance. Sent psychos and who knows what else against her. And she was actually known for the July 20th of the 21st century from Russia and Saudi Arabia and Poland and Egypt, the cousin and the brother of the man, 96 years old, they're heads of sciences. But if that's the old news on the news and you have the UN corporations and Brits, German airspace will always call it out. They are always been interested in airspace. If they have NASA or ESA or anything, obituary to Jamila, and that's the old news on the news. Between Woolwichers, Italians, and Germans, that's old news gone with the wind. Obituary. You understand the word obituary? Okay. So you have the Russians and the Saudi Mir. Then you have the Polish and the Egyptian intelligence, which would be more like the Pink. So if that's what's the new shit that was lost on the coast, the new bombs, the new airspace, the new shit, that's what you have with The Hague. The Hague is a smashed-in head on the coastline. That you don't understand how to make the blues, it's your fucking problem. And so when they bring back, and you don't notice it because she's Disneyland. You forgot the original girl. She's gone with the wind. And the other scientists, they're gone with the wind.
No, so that's been crazy.
And that's the line they drew on the coastlines after The Hague. Otherwise, it doesn't grow on trees or microchips. No. It also tells you, when they tell you that there was a ship to yacht with a pin-up girl, not high school, but the pin-up girl of the sciences. It means that the intelligence was in your country when she was flying and doing shit on the coastlines and running that many more times on the coastlines until finally Hague happened, smashed in head, and whoever was with that girl fell and that left. Okay? And whoever was responsible for the death, they blamed, of course, the Mossad, but it was not a financial bank. We knew about the financial banks. It was other science. Okay? So, and financial banks is not science. So when you start seeing how they showed it, but the problem with the people who don't know, who either know intel or don't have access to like the monitors around the world. This is on the metros. So this already is known. In other words, if you go to London or Germany or Rome or Warsaw International, everyone knows. Go to Russia, Arabia, fuck the Dar es Salaam neighborhood knows. So that tells me that you're extremely arrogant because you allowed it to happen in your coastlines. Then you had the pretenses to hate Disneyland, who came back from the dead with a smashed-in head with the other scientists. And then you sat there and you blamed the intel for the Hague on your own coastlines. Then you got angry that it was a phenomenon and they made negatives. Not bad, they made negatives. But the negatives come from professors, families who are academicians, other scientists in the UN. It's not the same individual. In other words, even if you have an Uber, do you think an Uber can open the original space tab? No. They can go around and kill. They can be geniuses, but in other words, Dark Mission, when I told you Dark Mission was cheap, I meant it. Because when you cried for a Dark Mission or 10 Dark Missioners, you didn't cry for what was actually happening on the coastlines. The Russian, Asian, UN, Saudi, you can say German, which is not as advanced as the Russian and the Saudi, put together in the UN. That Mir that was so expensive, that was lost. That's not some Dark Mission. So when you speak about intelligence, when you speak about Delft, and you say to me that that was on the coastlines before, on the flyings on the mountains, and the Barentine retirements in Fresno, you know Fresno doesn't have that kind of science or that kind of intel. They're there on retirements. You know about the amount of runnings on the hills. You know that happened that many times. And then eventually hit the roof of the library and the guy was working on the coastlines and that left. And then you're going to be sitting there and saying to me, oh, Disneyland, 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 Disneyland. I forgot. Gone with the wind, who gives a shit? But it's like when they say, I'm the best in what? I'm the bestest in what? So now that you see what this is that I don't have pretenses. I'm not the one who has pretenses. I know what happened. And I know that they can even make genetics after a smashed head on the coastlines, but it is very, very unusual. Meaning that it was a certain kind of intel. So when you were asking me, why did she come back as Disneyland with a free education? But why is she still hanging out with the intelligence around the world as she was before? But why does she have psychos following her from Fresno and Frisco? But and on and on and on and on and on. Answer your own question. And that's it. So when they said, let's stay out of Fresno and let's stay at Rome for a time, it simply meant, Shibo, that there's some pink and blues, athletes for sale, after the smashed head on the coastlines, and that's not even mentioning the pounds. And Fresno. In other words, not even Disneyland can take a breath in the US without having cheerlead. I hate you, bitch. I don't like hearing this shit. I've been hearing this shit ever since that girl had her head smashed in on the coastline. Whether it was in the UN or Germany or London or Warsaw International or Russia or Arabia before the retirements, during the retirements, after the retirements. I've been hearing the same shit all over the capital city. So don't come to Disneyland and say, I kill you, bitch. You fucking bitch. What is the fuck wrong with you people? You fascists. And because that's the old news on the news. And if you're a genius, then you go fix that shit yourself. I swear by God, you out there and tell, go fix it. And they're like, yeah, okay. If you want to whittle it, you can. That's it. And not that you come to me and you say, shit, bitch! Oh, where you at? Multigol, guarda che roba. Oh, that's the old news on the news. Madonna mia, questo particolare colpo. And another thing, ladies. Che sta cosa costa lì? You know when they say, I'm the best. Yes. Or the best. Where, friends? That's all. Oh, Dio mio, ste montagne. The amount of lights, the amount of runnings. And then comes out this one. Oops. Ma che è? In altre parole, a taglia. You know when they say cut? Not that you make Hollywood out of this shit. No, cut. Appunto. They say roll for retirement. What was lost is old news on the news. Get over yourselves and your fucking PhDs and goodbye. Thank you, say that. And if you're wondering who was with me on the ghost lines, well, you either look at the professors, the academicians, the intel, the CIA, or the flyers and the runners who were on the ghost lines with the CIA or others, and that's it. At least you can get the names of the professors and the academicians on the internet. That you can get for me. Buongiorno, signora. The only difference is I'm actually a particular corn pop, literally. And I have white hairs at the age of 5, literally. And I went to specific genetic schools in the UN with genetic freaks, which in my opinion were not genetic freaks, but anyway. Literally. After I smashed in head on the ghost lines. And that's the old news on the news gone with the wind. Because if you smash somebody's head on the ghost lines with a scientist, that is not the same person. Could be a genius. Bro, we give a shit, but it's just not the same person. And if you want to know how they make the blues, go and ask somebody else. I'm big. I tried to explain limits to growth. I tried to explain the white hairs. I tried to explain the wormhole to the worm. I tried to explain the drop. I tried to explain the ship going down. I tried to explain the whole stuff. I saw the big hairs, not big hairs, the scientists, the whole shit. If they made genetics and they reeled it in, they made genetics and they reeled it in, and basta. It's just not the same person. They will not be able to reopen what was hacked on the ghost lines. And I'm not Jewish. Quit this shit. Because they're already blaming your Mossad on the ghost lines collectively. Non cazzo. Again. Non mi ricominciare con sto again. E tecnologia. Varie tecnologie dalla Russia, dalla Saudi Arabia, se vuoi ci sono anche i polacchi e gli egizi che sarebbero i rosa. In other words, when they started color coding this shit for Disneyland around the capital cities, ce la facevano più. That's what float. But that's the old news on the news. That's not even mentioning the father and the mother in Fresno retirement. Therefore, Scotland Film Radio Global by now. And the reason I say the word by now is use your brains and not your assholes. Because who's paying for this shit on the ghost lines? Boom, 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 boom. Why I came back? Why is ship left? Why was I the mermaid? You don't even know the story of the mermaid. You don't even understand the mermaid. What was the about? Because you are genius. July 22 to 1, huh? With a smashed head on the ghost line relic Disneyland. The plumbing time in history that sucked the whole shit. Literally. Those guys went down with me. And you don't believe me? And I am some pin-up girl after the hate. Fuck you. And they made a comedy out of this shit with Pin-Up Girl. Disneyland. The train pool in the house. Not so. Well, cioè, the train pool in the house. Questa sarebbe sta cosa qua, no? Ma, scusa, ma... Noi in this age ci siamo rotti il cazzo with your stupidity. We're gonna send out Disneyland, yeah. No, you're not even gonna bother with the blues, but... And that's why they call me Roman Gladiator. Post-apocalypse on the ghost line. Ammazza, quello sarebbe post-apocalypse on the ghost. And the parents, of course, are in Fresno on retirement. Motherfucker. Allora, you know, and then they go... That's all. Sì, Delph, proprio il numero particolare, Delph. Between the Italians, the Southerners, the scientists, the German experts, the Brits, where she was born and raised and educated, the Russians, the Saudis, you have families even in Poland and Egypt. Ma che? Some fascists, big grays and blacks. Ma che? And that's the science. That's old news on the news. Don't even start. Don't start with me because I'm a famous girl. I'm out. And so if that's already gone, it's gone. Keep crying for your dog, cheap ass nation. Not very early, but now it sounds like a scribe. Have you ever seen a scribe? Heck, a scribe, a secretary or something, or like the one. I have to see that. And then they say, how do you make particular cold calls? Pink mi sembra abbastanza facile. Blues, then you have to go somewhere else for that. But I tried to explain it, and you said your cycles. Fuck it. 3. Of course, now they have 250 Dr. Parrots, including Berlin Dr. Parrots, speaking about Schadenfreude Jr., psycho-stalkers, bitches, hoes, animals, belvers, retards. Otherwise, I got so much fucking paperwork for one cat that you won't even know. I got The Hague. I got the Bureau de Veritas for the pinup girl. I got the European tribunal shit for those guys. I killed Disneyland, fuck you, bitch. C'è un altro like, questa storia di Babia. Eden. Oops. And I don't like being the pinup girl all of a sudden. Like, oh, the crab, yes, the crab. You don't want to know about the crab. Mamma mia. Shoot. Otherwise, just go to Fresno and bomb the place. And if you don't want to bomb the place, then do it as they said, politically correctly. Say it in a way that is acceptable to us. Havana 696969 or all the capital and shut the fuck up. Because on the East Coast in Magazzo, but you wish it was Havana over there. Nixon Watergate was on the coastlines. That's what they called me around the world. Don't know about you in California. Huh? But that was in the past. Cioè, it's already gold, capisci? Exactly. I don't have pretenses, but you don't have the pretenses for the void of the scientists on the coastlines of the corporations, who are in Western Europe and in the UN with me. As the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods around the capital cities in the world said, the Robin Hood, the Nigeria, at least you took from the rich, and that's it. That was my sorry ass with the other scientists on the coastlines. I don't know about literally. Now, if you want to make genetics pink and blue, that's still genetics pink and blue. As I said, that's the old news on the news, the nails. So, and then when you have Italians and everyone else saying, these hoes from Korean, Heine, he's their friends, he followed you to London and Poland. I said, that's not right. Hey, well, you don't understand. Knives and stuff like that. I said, I have no pretenses. I'm Disneyland. If they want to kill me for fun, let them do it. I don't want to die. I want to live. But if the Americans are so full of shit that they just want to kill me for fun, Schadenfreude Jr., not Schadenfreude Jr., the hatred towards me, the verbal vitriol towards the parents in Fresno. If you want to add the kill for Disneyland, go ahead. I have very little left as Disney. Chad, this is what they're showing on paperwork with the Dr. Parrots. And we're just sick of it. Because this is extra paperwork that I don't fucking need for myself. And it is unusual because the CIA knows that if you do that many flying beyonds and that many runnings on the hills and then you hit the roof of the library, that eventually something's going to happen on the coastlines. And if you are saying to me that it happened to you on your soil and you didn't pay attention to it, then you are the ones responsible for the losses that happened on the coastlines, especially if they were big that you deny. The ship left with that girl long ago. So don't be sitting there and laughing at this one, which makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, and don't speak to me about particular corn cob after smashing head on the coastlines. Then no one is going to do that for you, let alone make you into blues if you were so genius in science. Well, in the UN school, you have Vanessa with the 80 fingers, Muscara and Kirkland and all the others with the long legs and the short legs. You should be here, darling. That shit should be open. That shit went down. That shit killed and Higgs and this and that. There were corporations and it was out all the flies. All the motherfucking run, so many fucking run around the hills and hit on the head. And what's this? Disneyland. Bella, say gay. Fuck you. And you want me telling me that there's science in Fresno? Even one fucking corporation in Fresno. Welcome to the real world of Disneyland when it's already reality on the soil. And then they came back to me and they said, they're terrorists on the coastlines. You have to stay enrolled for retirement. Those guys on the coastlines lost. The CIA who had lost that is still paying till today. Because if you have The Hague and Dirk-Jan van Dam and Bureau de Veritas and all that, actually means that there was a loss of scientists with the corporations and not some cheap-ass dot missioner. So if that's the old news on the news and you don't remember the original girl because you got used to the crabby, it means that this country has a very, very low level of intelligence. That they still claim they're more intelligent than the Germans and the Russians and the Chinese and the Saudis and the UN. You're not in science. So sometimes if somebody has too much intelligence and she's in the CIA for a long time, a certain kind of CIA, and then she has her head smashed in on the coastlines, those guys eventually will, they're not like retards like you know, they're going to shut the project on the coastlines and they're going to say, sayonara. Pin up, girl. Sayonara, bye-bye. Old news on the news, gone with the wind, bye-bye. Moving on, nobody noticed. And that's what happened. That's the old news on the news. Once again, still not Fresno. And that's why they say, you don't care what you lose in your own country. And the Mossad was so happy that you lost that shit on the coastlines. The Chinese, the Russians, the Saudis, the Germans, the Italians, the Brits, the Polish, Egyptians, everybody on the planet was happy that you lost that science on the coastlines with a smashed in head on your soil. With the scientists. I'm the only one who's crying over my own dead self as a Disney replicant. As a pin-up girl of that shit. All news on the news, gone with the wind. I mean, you fucked up, man. You fucked up. You have pretenses, man. There's already got retirements in Fresno that has no sciences. I gotta start inventing, lying, scamming, blah, 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 everything. Look at Fresno. Look at the intelligence of Fresno. Should know from the very beginning to the very end who those motherfuckers are. The intelligence of Fresno. I know that you make a scrambled egg of Disneyland and put a... forgot that shit. Shit. Of course I wasn't alone. You think one female could... Kind of about that being a girl now. The parents is something else. The parents are in Fresno. The parents are in Fresno. They're on retirements in Fresno. Ecuador. You see, that's the roof. The roof has hills. The hills. Yeah. Hills have mountains. This is nowhere near the library. Okay? So you should go to Fresno. We're saying that again in this format, Jamila. Huh? Crap to grab B after that incident on the coastlines with those guys. Incident. That's the old news on the news. Just go to that fucking ass of a place in the middle of the desert of California and do what you should have done ages ago. Because, capite che the sciences was somewhere else, però eventualmente, sai che ti dico? Something, you know. And then you put this one in between. Bad enough, correct? Those were white globals. Bad enough. E poi questa cosa about the tits and ass. What is this? What is this? A bear? A bear? What are you, fucking retarded? You don't like the Jews. Of course not, you fucking retarded. And that's not even mentioning Fresno for the parents. Even Disneyland knows this around the capital city. It's insulting Disneyland. Of course there's a scope line on the radio, bro. Radio. Like you know that. Nah. Mazza una fatta con me che... Cemilla.